this sport is just so amazing, and I can't see it do anything but continue to attract people as long as we have the things to draw people in. Like I said, I was inspired by a poem for the Barkley and a photo album for Hard Rock. And at the time, those were leading edge pieces of content. Greetings and welcome to episode 4 of the Trail Currents podcast. I am Jamil Curry.
I'm Jubilee Page.
And welcome to the show.
Twing.
The show where we take a deep dive into topics making waves in the running world. So we just dropped episode 3.
Yeah.
Actually, I think it's dropping right now as we're recording 4. So we're hoping to tighten up the editing a little bit. But the audio dropped this afternoon. I think already we had quite a few people download and already comment back.
That's exciting. Yeah.
People are quick on this, which is great. And we dropped the episode on youth and ultras, which I don't know, might be a little controversial possibly. I don't know. We'll see how it goes over.
Yeah.
But ultimately, yeah, I just wanted to say these are just conversations and we're definitely open to feedback. We're just two people's opinions. That's what this show is. And we just appreciate you guys listening to what we have to say and our perspectives, but we also welcome other perspectives. So.
Yeah, it's just a conversation. We just kind of want to incite a little, excitement into the community.
Want to make people think, start a conversation, get people talking, see what people think. I think that's important in the sport to reflect on what's going on, and that's what we aim to do. And we got another great topic this week.
So let's talk about it.
A good time. So starting out, we'd like to thank this week's sponsor of the show. And I guess this is our first outside sponsor.
I know, it's exciting.
I'm super excited. They're a listener of the show, and they heard we were looking for sponsors. So I'll make the call out there. If there are any other companies or brands that want to get involved, we would love to have you here on the show. And this week's sponsor is Splats Sunscreen. This is a new company. They are actually on Kickstarter right now. They are almost halfway to their goal, so would very much appreciate your support in checking them out. They've got a great promo video it's beautiful. Just the video alone is really beautiful. They've got some amazing shots of Jared Hazen in the Grand Canyon, out at Joshua Tree. They were out at South Mountain here in Phoenix, I think with some of our Aravaipa group trail runners, which was awesome. I didn't even know at the time.
Nice.
But what they make essentially is portable sunscreen packets of high quality sunscreen. And I will say first off that I could have used Splats yesterday on my run. If you're watching this YouTube channel, I'm going to show you real quick.
There it is.
I got absolutely fried. For those of you who are just listening to the audio, I'm basically cooked on my back. I ran shirtless for 7 hours yesterday doing.
He's showing us his backside.
12,000 repeats, 12,000 feet of repeats. And I didn't have any sunscreen in the car. If I would have had one of these packets.
I mean, do you put sunscreen on like before you start your run?
I don't normally, but I should, you know, it's never convenient enough for me.
I mean, I'll do like the initial layer, like it's the initial spray down. But I mean, for me and for most ultra runners, for you probably as well, like we're out for hours on the trail.
And then eventually, I don't know if it evaporates or whatever it does, but you have to reapply.
You have to reapply.
And so that's really the problem that Splat Sunscreen is all about, is giving you a portable, high-quality sunscreen that you can take with you. Yeah. It's about the size of a gel pack, and you can just put it in your shorts. You can put it in your pack. It doesn't take up much room.
I mean, I'm not taking a huge, thing of, I don't know, Sunbum or whatever out there. I don't know. I'm not taking a huge
banana
tube,
boat or something
of
a Costco size out on the trails with you. Probably not. So... And it's just about
priority,
It's just about the right size that if you're just wearing shorts and a t-shirt, that it can cover your face, neck, arms, and legs. So it's
there you go. It's
perfect. And you're not going to have leftovers. It can really it's that one perfect use. So they couldn't find a solution out there, and so they decided to create their own. And I dig that they're members of the community. I saw them out at Way Too Cool. They're taking
Yeah.
pictures, they're getting involved, and they've got something really cool that they're doing right now as a make a marketing campaign. The founders are doing a Splats Trash biking tour. The founders
Yeah.
of the company are riding their bikes down the coast of California from San Francisco to Mexico,
Yep.
picking up trash and litter off the highways. I love this. We were just talking about this after Black Canyon because we
Yeah.
had some littering issues. And there's a movement out of Sweden called Plaga, if you hashtag that, where people go on runs and they pick up trash.
Yep.
It's pretty cool.
That's exactly
So-
what we did at the on Black Canyon.
So they're
That's exciting, yeah.
they're, I guess, riding probably down the PCH.
Yep.
Probably going to be a good time. But if you guys want to give them a follow over on Instagram and their other social media, I already saw they were already posting as of today over
They
on
started
there.
today. They started, this morning.
I saw they're already on their bikes getting after it. So that's the biggest thing is that's what Splats is, and it's really great for those long training runs like I was on,
Yeah.
because you can take a couple packets if you're out there all day.
I mean,
and you're going to be covered up and you're going to save your skin. So I'm going to be checking out their Kickstarter, but go ahead. We'll have the link below, or you guys can just search for Splats sunscreen. That's SPLATS. They gave me a sweet mug at Way Too Cool as
Really?
well. This awesome insulated coffee mug
Nice.
with like this really cool like neon pink and blue pirate design. It was great. So we really want to thank them for the support of the show. Please go check them out. You guys can pre-order packets of their sunscreen
Ooh,
on
yeah.
Kickstarter, and you can. Is that design available on the T-shirt
I
for
know.
Kickstarter?
Yeah, so I'm looking at their Kickstarter right now, and they've got some like wicked designs, man. Like I'm digging the pirate.
So they teamed up with some artists. They got some really cool designs for T-shirts. It doesn't just say like Splats sunscreen. It's a really dope design. Like I might go for that $55 level where you get a Splats pack and a T-shirt.
I know. I kind of wanted to do the same thing. Like you have a choice of 4 graphics. I mean,
They also have
I like the
some
hippie
bright.
chicks too.
They've
Come
also got some
on.
bright colored cycling kits. I mean, I'm not a cyclist, but if I was,
Ooh.
you're not going to be missed on the road.
No, they
Wearing
are.
those.
They are bright.
So again, thank you Splats Sunscreen for supporting the show, and
Awesome.
please check out their video and their Kickstarter page. All right, let's get on to the show.
Cool.
So this week's topic, state of the sport. This was an idea that just popped into the head. Ultra Running Magazine does a recap of the year, and they post it after the year's over. So this was in the January-February issue of Ultra Running Magazine, which
Yep.
we've got pulled up here on our computers. We've also got a printout of it. But we wanted to just go run down category by category. And for those of you listeners and viewers that haven't done a deep dive or want some additional commentary, this is what we're going to do today. So
Yeah.
we're going to talk about Ultra Runners of the Year, performances of the year,
All of the little nitty gritty details and
participation
statistics
levels and graphs and charts and all this kind of stuff. So if
we're
you,
gonna geek out a little
if
bit.
you guys
on our
nerd out
sport.
on this stuff
Yeah.
like we do, you're going to enjoy this one. And as corollary to this, another reason why we wanted to talk about this is there's been some articles and blog posts and articles and blog posts written about the leveling off of the growth of the sport in the last 2 years.
Yeah.
And some people that are in the industry are fearful of this in some ways.
It's like
I think-
they're anticipating a decline in our sport.
like a decline, and because there's been I think there's rises and falls in anything
Yeah, of
in the
course.
popularity of things, and we've
Yeah.
experienced some unprecedented growth levels. For one, this is the first year that we hit more than 100,000 ultra finishes in North America, which is crazy. So it sounds like it was 103,144. And that's a lot.
That's
That's
a
way
lot.
more than just 10
That's-
years ago. It's phenomenal.
That's
We'll
finishes, right?
yeah
Yeah. Dope.
ultra finishes. So that doesn't even count starters. So obviously the sport is becoming more mainstream, especially with movies like the Barkley Marathons on Netflix.
Yep.
You've got YouTube videos now that are about ultra running that are racking up
Yep.
hundreds of thousands, if not millions of views. REI just put out a movie that they've been promoting on YouTube that I think has gotten already over 2 million views.
Yeah.
Some of those are paid views, but
Yeah.
it's getting it out there.
I mean,
And-
I watch all like the Solomon stories of like individual runners in the mountains and all of the things.
And so we want to dive more into that. And, is the sport going to just level off? And then we're going to soon the sport is going to die away like road marathoning has before.
Or are there more people out there to be inspired?
So let's
waiting.
start out with the ultra running recap.
Let's do it.
Let's get into that. So we've got some information pulled up here we want to thank Ultra Running Magazine first off for
Collecting all
this information and putting it out there. It's great to see. So the first category they have is Female Ultra Runner of the Year.
Boom.
So we're not going to run down, I think, all 10, but there's 2 women that stood out in 2017 that by far and away got the most votes. So 495 votes to 411. There's a panel of people that vote each year on this. So Camille Herron, your 2017 Ultra Runner of the Year, followed by Courtney Dauwalter.
Yeah.
That was a close one. In my mind, it was pretty close. There's some other people.
As it should be. Both women were just on fire this year.
But yeah, some people are trying to argue with me that, Camille far and away, won it. But it's close.
Yeah,
I think.
It's close, and I think it should be close. Yeah.
Camille's performances are unbelievable, and she's, I think, rightly so, the Ultra Runner of the Year.
Yeah.
Running a 12:42 at 100 miles is something that no woman has come close to.
It's amazing.
And who knows how long that will stand. Also winning the Comrades Marathon, which is the largest ultra marathon in the world. That's unbelievable. You also have to look at, she DNF'd Western States 100 and Leadville 100, which I think they do weigh that in now. But she's had a little rougher time at the mountain hundreds than Courtney. She's a little more versatile currently.
Yeah.
Not to say Camille won't nail Western States.
But she was doing Western States like right after Comrades.
Which Ann Trayson has done and won both, which is amazing. Shout out to Ann. What up?
And Ann Trayson was also like Ultra Runner of the Year 10 years in a row. Yeah.
For like a decade or more. 14 Western States wins. Unbelievable.
So that's Ann Trayson though.
So Courtney, on the other hand, her versatility is pretty crazy.
Oh, she's so rad, man.
From 24-hour American record set twice last year because hers got broken. She had to reset it to wins at Run Rabbit Run 100. And I think some of the argument, I think it was Scott Coomer when I was on his 10 Junk Miles podcast.
Yeah.
Shout out to him. Go listen to that podcast. If you want a 3-hour chit chat about my life, go listen to that.
Shameless plug.
And you go check that thing out. But so yeah, he was saying there's no other woman that can do what Camille did. And part of the thing he was saying, I think, was that her win at Moab 240, Courtney's win there, it's such a new event.
Yeah.
Like, granted, she beat all the men, but how competitive?
I mean, she
we
don't won that outright by 8 hours,
he does have a good point, because the 200-mile distance has not become competitive yet. There's a few people dabbling in it, but no one's really nailed the trail 200s in the U.S. yet, in my opinion. I think most of the winning times are almost 60 hours.
Yeah.
I think some of them should be down up under 48.
And I think they probably will be eventually.
They will.
As more people get into it. I mean, you're now dabbling in it.
I'm going to give it a go this year. So we'll see what we can do. But I would get more excited when. But it's still. Yeah. And just like you see, you're seeing a lot of Europeans now taking on some of these lesser known challenges.
Yeah.
You might consider this like an FKT,
Yeah.
because it's so low key right now. But you just saw Francois come in and destroy the John Muir Trail. So, and then you saw Iker Carrera destroy Nolan's.
Yeah.
So when you start to get more of these world-class runners to come in, like what if Francois steps up and does the Tahoe 200?
Right.
He's going to go sub 48. He's going to knock 11 hours off the course record. And we're going to be like, oh. Or if he comes out and runs Moab 240, he's going to run under like closer to 48 hours instead of 58 hours. So, and then of course, Magdalena Boulet was third. But the interesting thing is the winner of Western States was not the winner of Ultra Runner of the Year, which I think in many years there's a correlation there.
Yeah.
But
Kat Bradley, she's on there still. Like she's number 5.
Yeah, 5th.
Yeah.
So, and there was a number of women receiving votes too. So, yeah, that was cool. I don't know. Do you have any other takeaways from the women Ultra Runner of the Year?
Yeah.
I think it's going to be
women are rocking.
Interesting this year. We've already got Camille and Courtney both off to quick starts.
I know, and they've got some big goals too this year. So that's
they're going to go head to head at Western States.
It's going to be awesome.
So that this year we might see a return to the winner of Western States taking Ultra Runner of the Year.
Yeah.
If those two women battle it out to the finish.
I mean, it's just really cool because they're just different athletes, though. Like in their training.
Their philosophy.
The philosophy of where they're running, like, yeah, it's just they're different.
Courtney, in one of her videos, talked about not running with a GPS watch and not tracking her mileage. She has no idea how many miles she's putting in per week.
She runs till she feels, that it's good.
I wonder what it is. Like, I wonder how much she's actually running. Is she putting in like 100-mile weeks every week, or is she doing like 140-mile weeks and has no idea?
Or
like
is she doing like 80-mile weeks or 40-mile weeks? And it's just like however she feels like.
It would be interesting to see if she could or would track that at some point. That would be really amazing to.
Somebody just like go out and like follow her step for step and like.
I would love to see her Strava
and be her Strava shadow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that job's up for grabs. Anyone?
Let's move on to the men. So 2017 male Ultra Runner of the Year. If you guys don't know who are listening in, the panel voted. It was much closer for the men. The top 4 were actually a lot closer.
Yeah.
There was a big gap between those top 2 women and the rest of the field. Here, top 4 were fairly close. So you have Jim Walmsley first, Tim Frerichs second, Tim Tollefson third, Hayden Hawks fourth. And that pretty much sums up 2017. All those guys, it's a really hard toss-up.
Awesome performances, yeah.
And it was a bit to me, there was no clear winner, really. You couldn't look at one person and be like, oh, yeah. Like Jim had an up and down year with a DNF at both Western States and Diagonal Defu.
Yeah.
And then struggled mid-race at UTMB, pulled it together for 5th.
Yep.
But placed behind Tim Tollefson for that one. Tim Frerichs had a breakout year with a couple of big victories, but also had his struggles as well at Black Canyon early on in the year. So again, it'll be interesting to see what happens this year with the men. Tim Tollefson already had a dropout of Trans Gran Canaria, but we'll see. Max King's off to a quick start. He wasn't even in the top 10 this last year, but Dylan Bowman, I think, could have a huge year. You already saw him win Tarawera, and he's doing Ultra Trail to Mount Fuji, which is a really competitive race coming up in April. So, and interesting, it looks like they have these first place votes in parentheses, and Tim Tollefson actually had more first place votes than Tim Frerichs, but was just behind him, I guess, in overall votes. I don't know how this all works.
Yeah.
They don't explain exactly the process, I don't think, but anyways, what else is interesting of note? We were talking about the ages earlier before we started the show.
Yeah.
Most of these guys are in their mid to late 20s or early 30s, except for Olivier Leblond, 45 years old in 6th place, and Jeff Browning, 46 years old, 8th place. So there's definitely some ageless dudes out there.
Yeah.
And circling back to the women, it looks like it's a little bit
more mixed.
Yeah, slightly more mixed. Magdalena is the oldest of the crowd at 43 in third place, and Kathleen Cusick 42 in 6th. Everyone else is there's a good mix. They're all between 25 and 37, except for those two in their 40s. So it's awesome. What's the next category? Performance of the year. So there's so much press given to the Ultra Runner of the Year that I don't even know if people know what the Performance of the Year was.
Yeah.
In 2017. So first for the men, they voted. It's very close for the votes on really the top 4 of these. Olivier Leblond, his 48-hour American record, 262 miles in 48 hours. So that kind of goes to show you what I was talking about. I know that a trail is going to be a bit slower than a road run.
Yeah.
Because this was a road run.
Yeah.
But if a guy like Olivier Leblond can do 262 and 48, like what was his 200-mile split?
Right.
It was probably under 40 hours. So even with a trail thrown in, I think we're going to see sub 48-hour trail 200s, I think, within the next couple of years.
Yeah.
We've got to. Because I think more people are
as that distance, that progresses and the popularity probably, catches fire a little bit. Yeah, we'll probably see it. Hi, come on.
Oh, we're going to do a little introduction here. People have been commenting about the pup that's been on the YouTube videos here. And for those of you listening, you may not even know.
Hi, yes. So this is Fox. He is my little pup. He's a little ultra dog, runs all of the trails with me. He's gone like 18, 20 miles is his longest distance.
Getting up there.
For a tiny little puppy, that's probably pretty good. He's actually not a puppy. He's 5 years old. He was rescued this December. And he just kind of follows me everywhere. So you'll probably see him in more of these.
It's awesome. Next up, Performance of the Year men.
Let's do it.
And actually, the first place votes are interesting because this one only received one first place vote, which was the least of the top 5.
Yeah.
But Patrick Reagan, Javelina 100, 13:01 course record.
That was my vote. I don't know.
You didn't.
I didn't.
We didn't get on the panel.
No, I'm not on the panel. Would have been my vote.
But it was close. It was within 2 points overall of Olivier's.
I mean, that was a solid performance, though. That was a really cool thing to
his
to
100-mile debut.
Yeah.
And, Javelina is becoming, we're the race directors, so you got to take everything we with a grain of salt. But
yeah,
I feel like it's coming out of its shell and it's becoming a more competitive race. We always have one or two fast guys, but I think this year we're going to see more. And I don't know anyone out there who's listening who, if you've put up a fast 100-mile time somewhere out there on a trail or a road, say for the men sub 14, for the women sub 16.
Yep.
Call us up because we want you here. We want you to run Javelina.
Yep.
And see what you can do. Who's going to be the first to break 13 hours?
I would love to see it.
And what woman is going to go under 14?
Yeah.
Camille, where you at?
What you got, girl?
Hayden Hawks, CCC, his 100K win. I think, that was a win. Mm-hmm. That was third. And then very close was Tim Tollefson's third place UTMB. That one's surprising that it's lower, but I guess because he didn't win, people are putting it down a little bit. But he was third to Francois and Killian. That's basically winning. So that's cool.
Yep.
And now we move on to
Performance of the Year.
Performance of the Year, and this
Women.
is the tale of the two ladies.
That's exactly
The top 5 performances were all Camille and Courtney.
Yep.
And that as they should be because it's unbelievable.
They were stellar performances, yeah.
So Camille's, I think this is absolutely correct. Camille's Tunnel Hill 100-mile, 12:42:40. Unbelievable. Fastest 100-mile time of the year by any man or woman.
Yep.
And a world record by over an hour for women. It's almost within an hour of the men's world record. It's unbelievable. I was at at a trail camp in Virginia when the race was going on. Actually, I was hanging out with Scott Coomer that night, and we were both glued to our phones and just getting so pumped. This kind of stuff gets me super excited. That's just, it's unfathomable. Blah, 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 blah. Unfathomable. It's awesome.
It's awesome.
Camille's win at the Comrades Marathon was next.
Yep.
And then Courtney's American record, 159 miles. I can't even imagine.
In 24 hours.
It's so
dude,
much. That destroys me. I got nothing. And
then 12-hour
Camille's
record by Camille. Right under that.
At Desert Solstice.
92 miles.
And I was begging her practically to go on to 100 because she could have broken her 12:42 if she stayed on pace.
Yeah,
she could have gone under 12:42, but she
was a machine.
It was
the coolest thing to watch.
It was only like a month after Tunnel Hill.
Yeah,
so she was mentally fried.
I mean, I think she wants to come back to Desert Solstice for the 24, which would be amazing. I want to see her. I want to see it.
I mean, we're gonna see some amazing stuff from these women this year. Camille is going to debut at a 24 hours this year. I'm not sure if it's going to be at Solstice or somewhere else. I think she's itching to do one sooner.
Yeah.
You're going to see her at Comrades again, I think. You're going to see her at Western States.
Yep.
And Courtney is doing Tahoe 200. She's doing, I think she's doing something before Western States, something big. I forget what it is, though. So it's going to be a fun year. These ladies, and there's tons of other women as well. They just, very close to Courtney's 238 Moab win. Claire Gallagher, her CCC 100K win. Kat Bradley's Western States were all right there. So Stephanie Howe Violet, her Bandera 100K outright victory. So
nice.
It's awesome. Moving on, looking at some age group performances for the men and women. So these are for some of our listeners who are a bit older and may not get the spotlight normally.
I mean, even if you're a listener and you're younger, like, kudos to these dudes, right? Because, man, I hear people always say, like, I'm too old to be running, and I'm like, you've no idea. Like, these guys are killing it.
So first off, we have your boy, Wally Hesseltine.
Swing.
74 years young. At the Hennepin 100, he ran 24:21.
Just over 24 hours. He's crushing it.
That's awesome.
That's awesome.
You have 52-year-old Rich Hanna at American River, ran a 6:18.
That's phenomenal.
I can't do
I
that.
can't do that. I can't dream of doing that. That's what?
You had a 50-year-old at Jed Smith 50K run a 3:16. Wonder what that equates to for a marathon time. It's a sub 3-hour marathon.
Yeah.
Obviously, and then you continue. So it's probably like a 2:50 marathon and then continue for 5 more miles. Is that right? It might even be lower than that, like a 2:45.
Yeah.
That's really quick. A 3:16, that's fast. I think the 50K national championship that just happened this weekend, the winner was 3:03. So he's just 13 minutes back of that.
He's 50.
It's great.
It's awesome, dude.
Hans Schmidt, 77 years old.
Lake Sonoma.
Finished the Lake Sonoma 50 mile.
Nailed it.
Time was 12:38. So, I mean, nothing special there except for the fact that he's almost 80. And that's a hilly course.
I mean, that's special, man.
And then the last one, 82-year-old Bill Dodson, finished the Ruth Anderson 50K in 6:57.
Solid.
That's great. What about the ladies?
Bring it on.
Megan Laws, also formerly known as Megan Arbogast, she laid it down at Western States, 21:57 at 56 years young.
Yep.
That's great. Gunhild Swanson, who I think she was featured. She finished Western States, I think, last year, not in 2016. Don't know if she got it done in 2017, but finished Lake Sonoma 50 mile in 12:20. That's awesome. We had a couple across the years performances. Liz Bauer at 58.
Yep.
Who is just a beast in the best way possible.
Dude, that's Bauer power all the way.
410 miles in 6 days. And Barbara Macklow, 82 years young.
Awesome.
100 miles
Yep.
in the 48 hour. And then we had a 54-year-old Roxanne Woodhouse, Tahoe Rim Trail, just over 24 hours. So really some cool stuff there. Scrolling down, we have now just some more interesting stats we wanted to lay down on you guys. So they have a chart of the previous ultra runners of the year.
Yep.
We're not going to go through all of these, but things that pop out is Ann Trayson. We talked about this.
How beautiful is that? Like,
from 1988 through 1998. Actually 11 years straight. Ann Trayson, Ultra Runner of the Year. And then she nabbed it again in 2001.
in 2001, yeah.
And there's no man that comes anywhere close to that. They, of course, started this in 1981. That's when the magazine first began. So they started giving this out from the very beginning. So it is a prestigious award.
Yep.
It's a very big deal. You had Tom Johnson, who I think won Western States a bunch of times in the mid-90s. He won 4 years in a row, so he was pretty dominant.
And Scott Jurek.
And then, of course, Scott Jurek came in 3 years in a row.
Yep.
In the mid-2000s and then again in 2007. So he has 4 of them. And then lately it's been a bit of a mixed bag. But most recently, Jim Walmsley. He's now 2-time winner, 2 in a row. And last year was Casey Lichtai, so pretty cool. Next up, we have a chart showing annual North American finishes. So this dates back to 1990 all the way to 2017. And as we said before, this is the first year that we've seen over 100,000 ultra finishes in North America. 103,000. Last year we had 98,000. So the other thing that this chart shows is the men versus women percentage. And they show it as a percent of the total. And the interesting thing to note is it seems like every year the percentage of women has gone up.
Yep. Just creeping up, just little by little.
So
I mean, it's always when I started getting interested in ultra running, I always thought, there was kind of this imbalance. There was always a 70-30 split between men and women, and it was always a male-dominated sport. And how more to get women involved in it. But like you're looking at these stats and like little by little by little, women are not only coming into the sport more and more, but they're performing and like winning outright. Yeah. And so, I mean, it's really cool to see. So shout out to all the ladies they're rocking ultras this year and next year.
So in the year 2000, just to give you some perspective, when there was only 13,000 total finishes, 75% of them were men.
Yeah.
75.9, so almost 76%.
Yeah.
And then flash forward to this year, we had 34.3% women. So, cool. I mean, there's more than double the amount of women finishes than there was back then.
Yep.
Probably 36,000 just women alone. So
yeah, it does. It looks about 35,000. Yeah.
Definitely seen some big jumps. And it seems like that's one of the conversations we wanted to have. I don't know if we're going to start it here, but I will say, looking at this chart, just an observation I'm making is there was a big jump from 2006 to 7. And I think that was what we call the Dean Karnazes effect, if we were to call it that.
Oh, yeah.
I think that was right after Ultra Marathon Man was published. So a lot of people learned about the sport, got inspired by reading that book. And it jumped from 24,000 to 30,000 that next year. And then it just kept going up from there. And then we saw another jump from 2011 to 2012. And I think this is the Born to Run effect. So that book was Dean's book was published, I think, in 2006.
2006.
And then Born to Run, I think, was published in 2011. That should correlate with some of these biggest jumps.
2009.
2009. Okay. So there was a jump. There was a huge jump from 29 2009 to 2010, it jumped by almost 11,000 finishers.
Yeah, that was a big jump.
Then there was even another jump from 2011 to 2012 where it jumped 14,000
Yep.
in 1 year, ultramarathon finishes. So I don't know if that was still Born to Run effect, just taking more of a hold, possibly. I don't know if there was something else big that happened that year. But yeah, I think those have been some of the big drivers. And then we've seen a growth of year to year, 4,000, 8,000, 8,000. This year, it only went up by 5,000. And maybe that's what people were getting. They're like, oh, it only went up by 5. But who knows what 2018 will bring.
Right. The thing is, it's still going up. And, with the introduction of 200 miles, like, that's something new. That's something that might spark, more interest, and people will write about it or make movies about it or make, blog about it, whatever they do. But
I mean, the biggest takeaway is since 1990, there have been more finishers of ultramarathons in North America every single year.
Yeah.
And it's been accelerating the last.
Since 1990, there's now like 100,000 more finishes.
There was 3,000 in 1990.
Yeah.
So this was just,
It's
this was a very
103,000
obscure sport. And
yeah.
It's still very obscure.
Oh,
I mean,
it is.
I think they
It's
were
still
saying
a niche sport, yeah.
the top 4 marathons in the world, that's over 103,000.
Yeah.
So it's just in 4 races is more than our entire
Sport.
toiling, backbreaking, knee-wrecking sport. Just
Yeah.
kidding. All right, moving on to more stats because we love them. We've got winners of the biggest North American ultras.
Cool.
So for those of you wondering, granted, that's 103,000 finishers, but what are the biggest races at each distance? What were they last year? So the biggest in North America in terms of finishers now, not starters, the JFK 50 mile. And that's one of the oldest.
Yeah.
That thing is like 50 years old, I think. So
They
had
750
finishers last year. And that's the biggest 50 mile. And the biggest 50K is next. Way Too Cool 50K. They had 700 last year. I haven't checked to see what it is this year.
Yeah, because you just came back from that one.
I was just there. We'll pull that up while we're talking. Actually, are you gonna find that?
Yeah, I can find that.
Jubilee will find that for us. And that moves us down to the North Face 50 in San Francisco. That is the second biggest 50 mile and 50K within that same weekend, 564 and 529 finishers. So those are some of your biggest races of those distances. What about the biggest 100 mile, 100K?
100 mile.
The biggest 100 mile was the 15th biggest in the U.S. in terms of any distance. That was the Javelina 100.
Boom.
That's kind of surprising. I think that would surprise some people. 346 finishers in.
I mean, I think it surprised me actually going through it because I thought it was Leadville that led the 100 mile distance, but like even.
And it might have been in terms of starters.
Yeah.
This last year.
But we had last year was a phenomenal finish rate for the Javelina 100.
And I think Leadville's might have been abysmal last year. They had 287 finishers. So.
Yeah.
Anyways, Javelina is the biggest for 2017. Rio del Lago was actually second. They had 294. Now, in terms of 100K distance, which is becoming more popular as of late, it wasn't always that way, but the Miwok 100K last year was the biggest, 297 finishers, and it looks like Black Canyon was the second biggest last year with 248, and that might change up this year.
I think that changed this year.
So Black Canyon, we saw 352 finishers.
Yep.
And we'll see how many people finish Miwok. So they might get bumped a little bit.
Yeah.
But that's interesting. So
Way Too Cool this year in 2018 saw 579. So down from.
Wow, that's actually a really big drop. And that's the thing about Way Too Cool that's interesting is they had, I think, 1,000 people a few years ago.
They had 1,000 people finish?
Wow. I think just it might have been 3 or 4 years ago. So I don't know. I mean, I don't know if that's showing that there's a decline or if it's just that race is declining.
Yeah.
But that's a big drop for sure. That might bump them down from being the biggest this year in terms of 50Ks.
In the 50K, yeah.
But still,
yeah.
It was a competitive race for sure. And I think the rain might have had something to do with it this year.
I was going to say, I don't know how many DNS they saw or how many starters. Yeah.
I think they had a lot of DNS because maybe of the forecast.
Got it.
But
yeah.
I mean, most people who show up are tough. They're so tough. That's what we saw last year at Black Canyon.
Black Canyon.
People wanted that finish. That was awesome to see.
It was way cool.
It was so good. But it seems like, races here in the US, they're not that big compared to a lot of races around the world.
Yeah.
You have UTMB with 2,300.
That's just
CCC like 3,000. It's just they're these massive races that we just don't have here. So it's different
those
culture.
Are marathon numbers,
Mm-hmm.
Normally.
I mean, we're seeing very quickly the finishers drop out of the 300 range in the 26th biggest ultra in the US.
Yeah.
And I mean, the top 100th has less than 200 finishers. So it's still a very small sport in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah.
Granted, I mean,
wow,
1,000 people on a trail, that's a lot of people.
It is a lot of people. 700 people on a trail, when we see it at Javelina, that's a lot of people on the trail.
Yeah, it's a lot of people. So I think it's a good balance, though.
Yeah.
Not the biggest isn't always the best.
That's true.
Well, except Javelina.
Javelina is phenomenal. It's amazing.
Top 100-mile times. Let's just give a quick rundown. There's some phenomenally fast.
Golly,
and there's some outliers too. Like we've got for the women, Camille's was the top time of men and women
of everyone. Yeah. Crushed it.
So her 12:42 was, for perspective, the second place was Micah Morgan. I've never even heard of Micah Morgan before, but she ran a 14:55 at Daytona.
2
she
hours.
Was the only one that was under 15 hours besides Camille. Usually there's a handful under 15, but I guess Camille's time now is just so far below that it just changes your perspective, because 14 something used to be it used to be this like, wow, that's unbelievable.
Yeah.
And now it's like, whoa, no one even ran sub 14 until Gina did it this last year, and it just changes your perspective on what's possible, which I think is amazing. For the men, it was a lot closer.
Yep.
You had 6 men that ran under 14 hours last year. No one ran under 13. So Pat Regan was your first at 13:01 at Javelina 100, followed closely by Mike Bialik at Tunnel Hill, 13:02. And then Ronnie Delzer. This guy doesn't get enough credit, but he's been crushing it. He had the 3rd and 4th fastest.
That's awesome. Almost
the same time at Brazos Bend and Rocky Raccoon, 13:40 and 13:44. So he's priming himself. He's running Badwater this year.
Cool.
So keep an eye out for that, because he's going to be strong. And then 20-year-old Patrick Karen, 13:50 at Ghost Train. Haven't even really heard of that race before, but that's your 5th fastest time of the year right there from Patrick. Young guy, getting after it. Hopefully we can convince him to come to Javelina. I'm trying to get Ronnie Delzer too. We want all these guys.
Everybody.
We want like the top 10. We want all of them to come. That'd be awesome. Just throw it down, see what happens. But even the top 100th time, let's go to that. Let's go to the far end of the stick. So what does it take to get you a top 100-mile time?
It's got to be sub 24 on both ends, right?
Oh yeah. By a lot. So the women, you got to run a 21:26 or better to make it. And for the men, 17:39. So you do see a discrepancy between the men and women there, obviously. Obviously, on the one end of the stick, Camille's time beats everyone.
Unbelievable, yeah.
But the aggregation of... But then again, you also have not as many women in the sport, too. Yeah. So I bet if equal numbers of men and women were running, I think you would see the women's drop a lot.
Yeah. If there was like a 50-50 split, like if
Yeah.
there were more women out there. And that's the thing.
There
like,
was that many more
I think-
finishes and that many more competitive women running.
Yeah,
I
I
think you would see their times come closer to the men's for
And
sure.
I think, women are out there who are competitive that can do that. We just got to get them into ultras.
Top 100K times. 100K is a little bit of a tricky distance. It's hard for me to comprehend that still. We're on the dang imperial system here. But Carolyn Bowler, all the top 3 times are all from Mad City. I think that's the 100K National Championship. Carolyn Bowler, Julie Hamelick, and Catalin Nagy, 7:51, 8:03, 8:03. So definitely some quick times from the ladies. And the men were also from Mad City, the top 3 men. So Jesse Davis, Isaiah Jansen, Mike Bialik, 7:06, 7:10, 7:12. So the story of the day is if you want to run a fast 100K, go to Mad City.
Go to Mad City.
Yeah. And other top trail times, Tarawera for both men and women was the top trail time of the year for
Black
North
Canyon.
Americans.
Yeah.
And Black Canyon was also up there for the men. Pine Creek and Bandera were up there for the women. So
Cool.
kind of gives you a rough idea of if you want to run that fast time, where to go. For 50-mile times, 50 miles is such a great distance. People can really, it reminds me of like the 800 meter compared to the mile. The mile is like, you got to kind of pace yourself like 100, and the 50 though, and the 800 is just all out. I mean, it's hard to talk about that,
You
but
just
it's
go.
true. You
Yeah.
just got to freaking go. So for the women, your fastest time of the year, Tara Moody at Chicago Lakefront, 6 hours, 20 minutes.
Awesome.
And Emily Harrison was 6:27 at JFK. And of course, Courtney at the Bear Chase Trail Race, 6:36. For the men, they're on average about an hour faster, but Chicago Lakefront as well, Jeffrey Burns ran a 5:14. So in Chicago Lakefront, historically has had really fast times, like low 5 and low 6 hours for the men and women, respectively. So yeah, if you want to run a fast time, Mad City 100K, Chicago Lakefront 50 mile,
There you go.
you can get your PRs all over the place. So check those ones out. 50K. Wow, I did not realize this. Elsa McDonald,
Elsa, what's up, girl?
she just ran one Black Canyon this year. She had the top 50K time of last
Yeah.
year. I had no idea.
She got second overall at Black Canyon. That's great.
3 hours, 30 minutes. This girl's got some speed.
Oh, yeah.
That's
She was
incredible.
trained up at Black Canyon. Girl crushed it.
And that was set at the Calgary Marathon, which I'm assuming also has a 50K option.
Cool.
For your men, the top 4 were all from CompSet, and that's the 50K National Championship, so that makes a lot of sense.
Okay.
And actually, the second fastest time of last year was also at CompSet for the women. But I'm guessing because Elsa is Canadian, she didn't go there. Because the 100K or the 50K U.S. National Championship probably doesn't mean a lot to her.
Yeah.
But the top men's time was Tyler Germon. He's from Arizona. I think he lives in Flagstaff. And he ran a 2:48.
50K.
Yeah. So he's probably running a 2:20 marathon and then continuing for 5 more miles. That's faster than my marathon PR. It's just sickening.
I got nothing. That's just what?
Let's move up in distance now to the 24-hour. This is incredible to me.
I love this stat.
This stat is unbelievable. This is really where we're seeing the strength of the women come to the forefront here.
Yeah.
So the top men's time, or distance, I should say, Olivier LeBlond, 160 miles. Top women's time, 159. A mile difference. And Courtney's it would have placed her second
Yeah.
for the men.
Yeah.
Not to mention that the men's performances fall off pretty quick from there, but the women's don't.
No.
Catalin Nagy, 155. Courtney, 155. Gina Slaby, 154. Whereas the men, 157, 154, 154. 153. I mean, the women's distances are better than the men's.
It's so cool to see. And that's what, people are discovering. The longer women are out there on their feet, the more equal the field becomes, which is awesome.
It's really cool to see.
You see this equality between the athletic performance, which is really that's so rad.
It's really awesome to see. So what gets you in the top 10? Well, if you're a man, 148 miles. And that's performances. So a lot of these guys have multiple top performances.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the power couple, Gina and Steve Slaby. Steve, he had 2 in the top 4 last year, 157 and 154. And Gina ran a 154. That's a power couple right there.
What?
If they did a team run at any race, they would dominate.
You got to come out and do the team race at Crust.
Because we just added a team option.
We just added the team option
for our event, so they would absolutely crush it. So I don't know, any more insight on that one? Seems like the surprising thing for me was that the women are so close now.
Yeah.
In the 24-hour. So cool to see. Speaking of that, races won outright by a female. They actually have a whole category for this because it's such a cool stat. There were a bunch of them, but they rank them by the number of finishers, I guess, to give you a little bit of an idea of how big of a race that they went up against all the men.
Yeah.
You want to lay it down?
So on top, we got Mackenzie O'Connor winning the Rachel Carson 34-mile in 6 hours, 56 minutes. And you had 431 finishers. So out of 430 people, she just crushed it.
I've never even heard of that race. How have I not heard of the Rachel Carson 34-mile?
I have no idea. And it's that's an odd,
it's
distance,
a weird mile
too,
distance,
right?
I just can't believe that a race that big, I've never heard of it. And that it was won outright by a woman.
Absolutely.
It's amazing.
Yeah. And I'm wondering, is it more road race? Is it, I don't know.
We're going to have to look this one
I
up
know.
at
We
some
got to
point.
look it up now. And then right under that, we've got, that was, 230 finishers. And then right under that is 259 finishers. Connie Gardner, 54, winning the Eagle Up Ultra 24-hour with 115 miles.
That's great.
It's awesome.
You've got Camille on this list. You've got Connie
Courtney
on this list again.
Yep.
Courtney's on this list. Catalin Nagy's on this list. It's really special.
Everybody was tuning in with Courtney when she was winning outright by 8 hours. But then again, you're looking at the 200-mile distance, you've got 98 finishers, right? So we might see that go up.
And right next to this, they have the ages of the ultra finishers. So I don't know, listeners, what do you think? What are the average ages of ultra marathon runners? Well, they might surprise you.
I don't know. I don't know if this surprised
Maybe
me at
not.
all, actually.
Yeah.
I kind of...
Well, it's a bit of a bell curve.
Yeah. You get...
It's actually a pretty good bell curve.
You go to any ultra race and you're going to find a majority of, of the people in and around your age, or in and around my age. You go 30 to 39, there's 32%, of the people finishing ultras, and then 40 to 49 age range is 31%. So 60% of the sport is occupied by people who are in their 30s and 40s. And I think that's pretty typical when you go to any of the races.
Less than 1% are under 20 and over 70.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just a tiny sliver.
Yeah.
And it probably could even be less than that.
Last week we talked about youth and ultras, and we were talking about less than 1% of kiddos trying to go out and run ultras.
Yeah. It's just a tiny sliver.
Yeah.
And even people in their 20s, there's not a huge amount, just 12%, but a lot of
that's
the
what
winners
that's what I was saying.
of the races, the
when you're
competitive.
looking at when you're talking about all of these competitors and all of these races that are won, you're looking at kids who are mid mid to late 20s, maybe early 30s. So, I mean, that's still just like a sliver. Like if you add early 30s, maybe like 15% of our sport is occupied by really competitive runners. It's really exciting to see 50 to 59 represented by 20%, which is cool. I geeked out just a little bit just because I just thought, I was like, wow, like the competitive folks are really only representative of maybe 15% of our sport.
Yeah.
But
that's a really good
point.
point.
The majority of us going out, it's not necessarily competitive. Maybe it's just this is where we are in our life and we want to go out and run.
So much attention is given on the front of the packers sometimes by a lot of the media outlets and those select few 20-somethings, but
yeah,
that's
but you're
just a sliver of the sport. Most of the people I think paying attention are between their 30s and 40s.
Yeah, mid to backpack, mid packers to back of the pack is represented. That's your majority of ultra running. Cool. So we're in good company, Jam. That's being in our 30s.
We're in the middle now. I started on the low end.
Yeah.
I almost cracked into that less than 1%, but I got started at 20 years old, so I can never claim to be from the less than 1% group until I hit 70, I guess.
I'm always about the biggest slice of pie, so I started when I was 29, 30 years old.
There you go.
Right underneath that, we've got 4 or more wins. So these people are winning 4 or more times in 2017. And it's really cool too because the women are representative in this category as well. You've got 10 women who have won 4 more ultras in 2017, leading with Emily Ansick, 32. She won
a bunch of East Coast races, basically.
It was.
It was like 4
all the
50Ks on the East Coast.
Yep.
So she's pretty dominant. The one that really stands out to me, or a couple that do, Kathleen Cusick. She's the 100-mile master of the East Coast.
Oh, yeah.
In 1 year, last year, she won Eastern States 100-mile, Vermont 100-mile, Grindstone 100-mile, Massanutten 100-mile. That's sick. And that's why she was in the top 10 ultra runners of the year, for sure.
Yeah, rightly so. That's solid. That's an amazing performance.
Jacqueline Merritt also, she's a big East Coast dominator. And she won mostly 50Ks as well out there.
Yeah.
But also threw in the Mount Mitchell 40-mile.
Not a lot of 100K wins, but Eo Wang too.
Yeah. Someone a little more versatile on the West Coast would be Caitlin Gerben, because she took home the Gorge Waterfall 100K, a couple 50Ks, and Cascade Crest 100 miles. So that's a pretty well-rounded win streak there. That's a solid year. Anything else stand out at you?
For the women?
Oh, dang. Look at this one. Rachel Ragona. This is not a name that I know much about.
Yeah.
But she also very versatile. She
6
won
wins.
6, yeah, not
6
only,
times.
which I think is the most.
Yeah.
So
out of both men and women,
she's from California, and she won, it looks like 3 50Ks, the Leona Divide 50-mile,
yep,
Kodiak 100-mile, and Angeles Crest 100-mile. Solid year.
That's awesome.
For the men, the list is shorter.
Yeah.
They count 7. That includes ya boy, Jeff Browning. I like saying that. I don't know why. Won a couple 50Ks, the Coyote Backbone race across the Santa Monica Mountains, and the Bear 100-mile. That guy is always just a stud. You can count on him to dominate. What else is interesting here? Max King won a bunch of 50Ks. That's not very surprising. Olivier LeBlond, who we talked about already, not only did he have the top 24-hour time and the top 48-hour time, which they don't even list here, but instead they list that he won Umstead 100-mile, Yeti 100-mile,
Icy 8-hour,
Icy 8, and the Adventure Trail 12. So he's all over the place. He's got a couple low 14 hours. The dude is just dominating.
That's awesome, dude.
He's great. And youngster Patrick Carron,
yeah.
He actually in addition to his really fast 100
Ghost
miler,
Train, yeah.
he had a giddy up 50-mile win and some other shorter stuff
Turkey
too.
Trot 6
So,
hour. We got to get these dudes out, man. That's awesome.
Awesome. What's next?
Significant course records for 2017. Let's do it.
All right. So they rank these by age of the race, not necessarily age of the record. So we don't have that with us right here.
Yeah.
But the oldest race to see a new course record in 2017 was the Minnesota Voyager 50 mile. I've been hearing more about this race lately.
Really?
I think it was Scott Jurek's first ultra.
Okay.
But people are trying to get me to race in
the
Midwest. Yeah.
I know. You got to go do it, man.
I know. I was thinking about just picking one randomly and flying out sometime this summer, just like a quick trip. Just go out, run it, come back, hang out for maybe a day.
Yeah.
With the peeps.
You got some good folk in the Midwest.
Run maybe a 50-mile distance. That would be fun.
That's good.
But something where I can squeeze it in as a training run would be awesome.
Minnesota Voyager.
So I'm gonna have to look into that. So
Ashley Nordell broke that 7 hours 56 minutes.
What else is interesting? Chuckanut, that saw a new course record. That's a 23-year-old race. Max King broke that one.
Bandera 100K.
And Stephanie also won outright for that event.
Yep.
So Pat Reagan, of course, his Javelina 100 mile. That was a new one. Oh, my good buddy Zach Gingrich. He ran a 3:18 50K. I'm so happy to see that guy on a list because he's one of my favorite ultramarathon characters of all time.
Awesome.
I thought he disappeared for good. I thought his diet of candy and diet soda may have done him in, but he is still kicking and doing well. We also saw course records at the Moab Red Hot 55K. That one seems to always have a new course record every year, no matter what. And you think, well, Hayden Hawks just set the record. That's got to be unbeatable. Nope. Yeah. A guy broke it this year. Yeah. Anthony Costales or something. He'll be the next name for sure. What else? Tarawera course records went down last year. That's about it, guys. I don't know what else to say. Course records are falling.
I mean, that's the whole deal, though. Like, as the sport becomes more competitive, you're seeing just people go out and crush records, and not only, winning them, but being competitive and going after the fastest known times. And like, come on, records were meant to be broken.
Let's talk about the youngest winners in 2017. This goes a little bit back to last week's episode.
I know. How young are these folks?
There are some young people that are slaying it, and it's awesome to see. So our youngest winner of 2017 of any ultra with 50 or more finishers, Logan Bruce of Alabama, the Rebecca Mountain 50 mile, which I've never heard of.
Adorable.
He won in 8:58, 77 finishers. So that's great. There's a couple 18-year-olds on the list. There's one 19-year-old on the list.
Yep.
There's a slew of 20,
Patrick
21.
Karen, like we've been talking about him, is all over that list.
Yeah, he's got 5 wins last year. Makai Clemens won Javelina 100K. He is 21 last year. You've also got, it looks like Gabriella Madier. Mm-hmm. She's 21 from California.
She's slaying.
She won a 100-miler. Last year.
100 mile, 50K, 50 mile.
And Rio del Lago, which is the second biggest. Yep. So that's a name that we're probably going to see more of this year. It'll be interesting to see what's on her race calendar for 2018 because you might want to watch out for that one.
Yep.
What are some other names here? The Blake Zufall, never heard of that one. He's got a couple wins. Kelly Wolf is on this list. And Hannah Bright of Oregon. The Hellgate 100K. That's a brutal race. Starts at midnight.
Nice.
And it's in December in Virginia, and it's cold and snowy.
That's disgusting.
Nice. Disgusting.
And nice.
That's how that goes.
Yeah. Not going to find me there.
Oldest 100-mile finishers in 2017. These are all folks in the 1%, less than 1%
Yep,
range.
definitely.
Well, the women are
Well,
actually a little younger.
Yep.
Not as many older women yet are finishing hundreds.
Most of
in
the
their
men are in
70s.
their 70s. Most of the women are in their 60s.
Still incredible. So our oldest woman finisher last year.
Go on.
Lay it on them. You don't see it?
No,
E-
sorry.
Udon, like what? Did she say?
I'm looking at the completely wrong.
Udon Beedler, 70 years old, of Pennsylvania.
Sorry, I'm on the wrong
28
page.
hours 10 minutes at Pine Creek. It was on the same page. And so
that's why.
she is your oldest finisher
I'm looking
of
at
a 100 miler. For the men, Dan Pironi, 77 of Alaska, the Daytona 100 in 29 hours. David Blaylock, 74.
Crushing it.
Whoa.
He's all over that list.
1, 2. He finished 5 100 milers last year at 74 years old. That is awesome. He's
Salt
from
Flats,
Utah. So he's
Rendezvous, Jackpot, Pony Express, Pulse Endurance.
That's great.
Very nice.
So we've
David.
gone over some of the young, some of the old, and
Oldest winners.
now we're going into the oldest winners.
This
There's
is
so
where
many,
I'm at.
there's so many fun categories. This is great. So, wow. And now this is a bit of a switch up because it seems like the women
Look at the women rocket.
who are older are crushing it.
Oh my gosh, I love it. All right, so right on top, it's across the years, 48 hour. Karen Bonet Natraj, 60. She did 140 miles in that category.
It's awesome.
That's great, dude.
And now a 50K with 252 finishers, the Salmon Falls. Jackie Clark, 59, won that.
Yeah.
59 years young. It's great.
Liz-
What else is of interest on this list?
Liz Bauer's on this list a couple times.
times.
Race for the ages and across the years. She did the 6-day. I remember that. She did 418 miles. She's 57 years old and just dominated that.
So no matter your
That
age,
6-day.
there are people in the sport in their 50s and even 60s.
And even 70s, man.
Well, they're not in their 70s and winning, but in their 50s.
In their 50s,
and
they're crushing it.
winning.
Yeah.
50s and winning races with hundreds of finishers total.
Yeah.
And there's people in their 50s, men and women both, that are winning. And that's the takeaway from this.
Yeah.
So now we talked about the growth of the participation numbers, but what about the number of races available? This has boomed.
Yeah.
In 1990, there was 41 ultras total in North America.
Yep.
Imagine Ultra Running Magazine. They have to try and cover 1,800 races now. That kudos to you guys. That's like, just give you a little
Solid.
pity clap.
It's a nice golf clap, man.
That's a lot.
There you go.
And let's see where those, right after the boom of the Dean book, you had 386 ultra marathons, and then it just kind of jumped. 2010, I think that was maybe part of the jump. In
Born to Run jump?
Well, in 2012, when you went from 921 races in 2011 to 1,100 races, there was so many more finishers because there were so many more races to run. So I think people went a little nuts. They're like, oh, look at this new race. Look at this race. Look at this race. I'm gonna run all
you
of them.
did. You had like this jump from 2009 to 2010, where it went from like 667 to 865. So another 200 races, and then in the next couple years, another 200 races just boomed.
Yeah. And there was a little leveling off this last year. And again, that's what people are talking about in some of these articles. It went from 1739 to 1820.
Yeah.
And then they do have a biggest races list right below this. And we already talked about most of these.
Yeah.
We talked about Javelina being the biggest 100-mile, Miwok, biggest 100K, JFK, biggest 50-mile, and Way Too Cool, biggest 50K.
And the other distances, that's that Rachel Carson,
The
34 miles. I got to know what this is. Like, I got to know.
Please let us know.
If you've run the Rachel Carson, I want to know about it.
There is also, if you guys want to pick up this copy, I don't know how you can pick up the January, February issue. I guess go to ultrarunningmagazine.com or ultrarunning.com and check it out. You guys can dive deeper into all these. They also have an article on the most notable FKTs. We're not paid by Ultra Running Magazine to say any of this, by the way, but we want to promote them because we are using their information. So please go check them out. I have almost all the issues of Ultra Running Magazine, and I love it. I love the data. I love the stories, and I just am the biggest nerd of this sport that has ever been alive and breathed air. So, Rachel Carson, 34 miler, what have you found?
So it is a trail. It's a trail race, and it just happens. It's not because it's just funny. 34 miles. The whole trail is 34 miles. So you run the whole course.
And it's in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
Who would have thought? 431 finishers. That makes it bigger than a lot of races out there. It's amazing.
Evidently, it's a doozy of a race too. The trail is, they say it's extremely difficult. A lot of ups and downs, climbing hills, very steep grades, loose gravel. Quite a challenge. Okay, I'm intrigued.
We might have to put it on the list.
I might just put it on my list.
So before we move on to, I guess, the final segment of the show, can you talk about the beer we're drinking tonight?
Totally.
I think the people want to know.
All right, here we go, guys. Flagstaff has a fantastic brewery up there. It is called Dark Sky Brewing. Tonight we are drinking. How many beers do they put out a year? I
think it's over 100 or over 200 beers per year. I think it's 200. 200 different beers per year.
Yeah, they're constantly cranking out different brews, which is really pretty cool.
It's like very small batch style.
This is a Goza, and it's called Negative Goze Rider. Anybody gets that reference? He doesn't, but that's okay. We know. 4.7 Goza. It's actually it's a pretty light beer. But they've got some. Check them out if you're ever in the Flagstaff area. Check out Dark Sky Brewing. Good stuff.
Awesome. I already drank all mine, so
yes, you did.
I'm a little thirsty today. So I guess the last point, we want to freestyle a little bit. Thanks for bearing with us. If that was not your thing, listening to all these stats, we apologize for this episode. But hopefully you took something away from it. But right now we want to move into this thought process of, oh no, the sport's leveling off, because we saw not as much of a gain in 2017 as other years recently. You could potentially forecast a leveling off of the participation, of the number of races. First off, maybe that's not a bad thing. Second off, we don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
And third off, I think one thing we wanted to touch upon in general, and that I really wanted to say out into the world, is that people get inspired by the stories of the sport and by other pieces of content. I got inspired to run the Barkley Marathons because I saw a poem, literally, and it said something about like 2 miles an hour. I don't care how steep the trail is. I don't care how nasty it is. I can go 2 miles per hour for 60 hours. Like anyone can do that. Yeah. And it was like, yeah. And then you read about the fact that there was like, at the time, 9 finishers. You're like, I'm now intrigued.
Yeah.
Or you read a book about this guy who has a midlife crisis at 30 and runs 30 miles for his 30th birthday. Yeah. Dean Karnazes's book. Apparently millions get inspired by that. Or I guess millions aren't running ultras, but a lot of people get inspired. Thousands of people. Or you have Born to Run, where you were inspired by that.
That's
into the sport.
That's exactly what drew me.
Why you're here today.
That's why I'm here today. That's what drew me into the sport. My sister and I both passed around this book. I think my brother read it, and then my sister read it, and then she passed it along to me. And we were inspired by the stories, and not only by the history of the Tarahumara and the running people, but the fact that there are people out there running these amazing races and hundreds of miles in a day. And when I read that book, I was like, oh my gosh, those are like the untouchables. Like, that's crazy. Like, these people are magic. And then happened to be right in my backyard was the Javelina 100. and volunteering there and going, oh my gosh, it's these people. These are the people that are like in the Born to Run. And I saw the Tarawara like there, and I saw Gordy Ainsley there. Like it's inspiring. It's the stories, it's the characters of our sport that draw people to what we do.
I think the connectability it's still there, and it's alive and well. Jim Walmsley, I mean, a lot of people are starstruck by him.
I think people are definitely inspired by Walmsley.
And he's hanging out at Way Too Cool, shaking hands, and you can just walk up to him and take a selfie with him.
Yeah.
And that's cool.
Courtney Dauwalter is very inspiring for women, and
she's kicking back post race after Coldwater. She's just hanging out for hours.
Yeah.
Super cool. And like, the sport is just so amazing, and I can't see it do anything but continue to attract people as long as we have the things to draw people in. And that's why I think it's so important to have films and content and stories produced about everyone. And I think what really helps is obviously when things like that go really mainstream, which you never know when or where that's going to happen. I mean, maybe Chris McDougall, I'm pretty sure Chris McDougall knew that his book was going to have this impact because he had a huge publisher behind him, and he could sense that it was going to take place. But I think there's little things that happen all the time that bring people to the sport. And I guess I would just encourage anyone out there listening. I know that that's one of my goals is I love this sport so much, and I want to inspire people. And that's a big reason why I put out so much content and videos and this podcast. And I don't know that this podcast will incite the next like 10,000 people to jump in the sport next year, because it probably won't, because this is very much for people that are already in the sport or that are maybe new, but they got drawn in by something else.
Yeah.
And now they're pumped and they want to learn more.
But it's the activity and the characters and the places that, surround the sport, that all of it combined is incredibly inspiring.
And now the fact there's so many more people doing it, I feel like it could easily snowball. And the next big thing, whatever it is, it may not be a book, but maybe it's a movie, or
I mean, it might be a YouTube channel or 20-minute film or something.
Like I said, I was inspired by a poem for the Barkley and a photo album for Hard Rock. I saw a photo album of the 2006 race, and at the time, those were leading edge pieces of content. And now it's changed a little bit. Now it might be a New York Times bestseller, or it might be a certain Barkley movie on Netflix, or the Ginger Runner Where Dreams Go to Die film that just was released.
There's a lot of creators.
A lot of people haven't even seen that film yet, and that's going to just get more people pumped, I think, about the sport. So, and a lot of times it's not going to be the shoe companies that are putting out their marketing that's going to draw people in that are already in the sport. But, when Courtney Dauwalter goes on the Joe Rogan podcast, I guarantee you that's going to draw some new people in.
That blew up.
And I think that we're on a cusp, I think, where that stuff could continue to happen. Yeah. And we can sit here a year from now and see if any of that pans out. But I think there's a lot of people that are trying to inspire and that are trying to share their love of the sport out there. I think it's great, and I just encourage it. I mean, the Coconino Cowboys, what they're doing, I think they're inspiring a bunch of people. All these YouTube filmmakers that are
Billy Yang, man, like
out.
I watched his stuff, before I was even a part of this, and I was like, that dude's like,
it gives you the chills when you watch this.
It's
stuff,
awesome,
and it is inspiring. And I think that, I guess us as a collective, if we want to grow the sport or inspire more people, the continued storytelling of the people of the sport, not just the front of the Packers, but everyone, your everyday moms and dads they're getting out there and doing it.
50-year-old overall winners, man. Like
the beautiful places you can explore, and the feelings and the emotion you can feel, the state of flow that you can find out there on the trails. I think that is important. And I think that is
special.
That's how we continue to grow the sport. And I don't know. I don't know if, obviously, for those of us who, our livelihood is dependent upon this sport, we want to see it continue to grow.
For sure.
And there's a lot of people in the ultra running industry now. There is an industry and that's the athletes too. There was no such thing as a professional athlete when there's 3,000 ultra finishers per year, but now with 100,000, there's a small economy and there's an industry where Jim Walmsley can get paid to run and be a professional ultra runner.
Yeah.
And that's cool.
Yeah.
And if we all want this to continue, like I'd like to continue doing it. I think, we are going to need to find new ways to inspire, and it's all of us finding our own creative outlets. And I think the number one thing for me, it's always telling of the stories. That's what Chris McDougall did so well. That's what Dean Karnazes did so well. That's what Billy Yang does so well, and Ethan Newberry, and
that's what drew me to the sport.
And the people that are putting the heart and soul out there, when Zach Miller is pumping and heaving over the finish line and then congratulating and hugging Hayden Hawks at the finish, like, that's awesome. And when Gary
chills.
Robbins is collapsing the finish line at Barkley, like, those moments, if more people saw that, it's the human experience at its rawest form. And Jim Walmsley, floating down the trail and ultimately, walking into the river crossing aid station at Western States with his tail between his legs, basically, like, that gets you when you see that. A guy that's put his life into this and it falls apart.
I mean, for me, like, I had chills. It was so exciting at the Western States finish line in 2017 to watch Karen Bonet Natraj at 60, like push, and there were seconds left on the clock for the cutoff, and she was the last finisher, and all of a sudden you saw the entire field like explode into this amazing electric energy of, we believe that she's going to do this, and she did. And it's that, like, feeling at the end, like, everybody feels that. It's that string of, like, connectivity in our sport. And, like, when you realize, like, this is what people are capable of, it's nothing but inspiring.
Yeah. And I think in this day and age, especially when, I don't know, so many sports are tainted by all these things. And I'm not saying that ours isn't. I know Sage will probably be the first one to comment on this podcast. Hi, Sage. I know you're out there listening probably, but we want to root that stuff out. The cheaters, the doping, we want to root it out. But I mean, this is a community sport, and we will protect our sport. And we will. We are the watchdogs. We will. But no, in all seriousness, I think that it's so cool. I hopped on the Ginger Runner Live chat last night, and Ann Trayson was on the show. But then in the chat room, there's Amelia Boone, and there's Camille Herron, and there's, like, and then just, all of the Patreon supporters for Ethan's channel and people that tune in every week. Scout, who works with us, was on there.
Super passionate.
And
passionate
it just
about
felt
the
like a little family reunion on a Monday night on a YouTube chat room. Like, the sport is that close knit that, obstacle racer famous Amelia Boone is on here, and Camille Herron, Ultra Runner of the Year, is on this chat room and talking about her dog, and we're all listening to Ann Trayson. It was the coolest thing. And I don't know, I'm all about more things like that, telling the stories and sharing the sport. Yeah. I see nothing but positive and upside for this sport. And I know that there's obviously some hurdles with that, with, we all want to, I'm not saying we all want to run these lottery races, but we all want to do some of these special races, and these aren't big races, and they're never going to be. A lot of the Western States, Hard Rocks, the Leadvilles of the world, they're going to be restricted. But there's so many more.
That's
there's
the thing.
1,800 races
1,800
now.
races out there now.
That's I can't even keep up. That's why I don't know.
Like, I didn't know about Rachel
Rachel
Carson 34 Mile. I'm coming to get you, man. We're doing it.
But it's great, and I think that's a good mix. It's great to do the big races, but I think the takeaway and what I heard a lot of people say in the comments to the last show was it allowed me to find all these other amazing events, and they all have their stories and their characters and their volunteers. Like I went on a run with John Stórkamp, who puts on a lot of the events in Minnesota with Rocksteady Running, like the Superior Sawtooth 100. You know, talking about the 20-year volunteers at the race. And there's so many of those races out there that don't get the press that, you know, these couple West Coast events do. And I think that it's good to hear about those, I guess. Or the ones that you never hear about and you just go and run, and it's just your local, you know, the Water is Life 50K, the Patawakatsi run in the Hopi lands of Arizona that I don't even know if happens anymore, but it was an awesome experience, but you never hear much about it.
Yeah.
I don't even know what else. There's so many great little ones out there. Low key, no frills. I think doing all of them is great. I don't even know where I'm going with this conversation, but I don't know. Just much love and appreciation for the state of this sport.
Yeah.
And I think that my opinion is the key to our future growth is continuing to build the community and
share our stories,
sharing
man.
this. I think so. I think those that are inspiring people to see what it's all about.
Share what,
I think that's how you're going to draw people in.
And I know what inspires you, yeah.
People cycle in and out for sure. And I don't know if it's like the people that came in and got inspired from Born to Run. I don't know the stats on how many of those people are still here, or if they're injured or if they just lost their enthusiasm. Who knows?
Yeah.
But there's plenty of, I think, there's more and more, what I see is more and more inspiration and excitement about the sport from the people that are in it. So we'll just see. But I'm just grateful to be part of this sport. And
it's exciting. I think feel very privileged to be a part of the sport. The newbie that I am.
I guess with that, let us know what you guys think. Comment. Feel free to comment on our YouTube video or send us a message. We'd love to hear it.
Yep.
And if you guys are listening and wouldn't mind maybe popping over to Apple Podcasts and leaving a review for us, that would certainly help us out.
Yeah.
I know there's already been quite a few reviews, and we appreciate every single one of them. We welcome your feedback to the show, and let us know what you think. If you have a topic in mind,
definitely we want to know. Yeah.
Let us know. I don't know if we know what we're going to talk about next time. I don't think we have anything right off the bat. But
I think somebody asked us to kind of dive deep into what it's like to produce a race.
Interesting. We'll have to think about how that applies to making it current, I guess. Current topics. We want to thank again Splat's Sunscreen for sponsoring this week's episode.
Go check them out.
Please go check out their Kickstarter. It is almost halfway funded. They would appreciate it, and you know my skin would appreciate it very much so.
I know. I think mine, especially living in Arizona, dude, I got to get up on that. Seriously, though, like, check out their... I really want that pirate shirt, man.
But the summer is coming, guys. The sun is getting more intense by the day, so
take care of your skin.
And I know we have listeners from all over the world, so
for sure.
We are heading into our summer season soon. We hit 80 degrees Fahrenheit here in the U.S., or not in the U.S., in Phoenix.
In
more
Arizona.
localized than that.
Yeah.
So thank you guys again so much for tuning in. You can catch this episode again, Apple Podcasts, Google Play Music, YouTube, Stitcher, and still waiting on the email back from our friends over at Spotify.
Come on, Spotify. What you got?
Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you guys in the next episode.
Okay, bye.
Peace.